Good morning, everyone. In the previous class, we have seen the concept of voltage source inverter fed induction motor drive. Here you can see this is the circuit diagram of voltage source inverter fed induction motor drive, and this is a three-phase circuit. So three legs contains a total 6 number of switches, and this is induction motor A, B, C phases. So VSI fed induction motor drive can be operated in two different modes. Either if you want to operate the same with stepped wave inverter, that means if we are performing this inverter as a stepped wave inverter, that is the first case, and the second case is PWM control. So PWM control is our second case. Let's see the case one, which is stepped wave inverter. In the previous class, we have seen the stepped wave inverter waveform also. So this is the stepped wave inverter waveform for a given time period. That means if our time period is 0 to 360 degrees, that means 0 to 2 pi for VAB. This is a line to line stepped wave inverter voltage. So the stepped wave inverter voltage waveform can be obtained by operating each thyristor for a time period of T by 2 and with a time gap of T by 6. T by 6, where T is the time period. Suppose let's see here our time period is 2 pi. 2 pi means 360 degrees. So 360 degrees is our time period. That means 360 by 2, before that 360 by 6 is the time gap between the turning on of two different switches. That means T by 6. So 360 by 6. That means we will get a 60 degrees. So for each and every pulse or for each and every thyristor turning on duration, between two turning ons of thyristors, we must have a 60 degrees of time difference. You can see here, this is one thyristor turn on duration. This is another thyristor turn on duration. So during these two instances, we must maintain a 60 degree difference. So here the gap between two square pulses must be 60 degrees because this is our condition. So T by 6 is our condition. If we take the time period as a 360 degrees, then 360 by 60 will give the difference, which means a 60 degree gap must be maintained between two square pulses. You can see this square pulse is ended at 5 pi by 60. 5 pi by 60 means 150 degrees. And you can see here this square pulse is started at pi plus 30. Pi plus 30 means 210 degrees. So it is ended at 150 degree. So next pulse is started at 210 degree because we must maintain a 60 degree gap between each square pulse, right? So the time period between two consequent thyristors will be T by 6. This is our first condition. So according to it, a 360 degree will have two pulses. Out of two pulses, 60 plus 60 will give 120 degrees of gap between two pulses. So total we have 240 degrees left with us because 60 degree gap is maintained between two square pulses. So we will be having two square pulses in the span of 360 degree. So 60 plus 60 will give 120 degree because 120 degrees will be the gap. So if we subtract 360 minus 120, then the time we will have is 240 degrees. So during this 240 degree, we need to generate 2 square pulses. That means, so 240 by 2 will give 120 degree. So 120 degree will be the conduction time of the thyristor. So that means each square pulse must conduct or must have a 120 degree of time period. Now let's see here. This square pulse is started at pi by 6. Pi by 6 means 30 degrees. So from 30 degrees to, it started at 30 degrees and it ended at 150 degree. So 30 to 150, which is 120 degrees conduction duration. See, the conduction duration of this square pulse is 120 degrees. And here also you can see this negative square pulse is started at pi plus 30 degrees, which means 210 degree. And you can see it is ended at 330 degrees. 7 pi by, this is 230 degree, sorry, 330 degree, not 230, it's a 330 degree. So that means from 210 to 330, the time period again here is 120 degree, right? So here we will have a 30 degree time difference will be kept left here. Here also a 30 degree time period left here. So the total will be here 30, here 30, so 60 degrees. And in between the two square pulses will be a 60 degree. So that means 60 plus 60. And we have got two square pulses. Each time period will be 120 degree. So that means 120 plus 120. So the total of 60, 60, 120, 120 plus 120 plus 120, 360 degrees. So a 360 degree time period, which means a full cycle time period will be divided like this. So in order to operate stepped wave, in order to achieve stepped wave inverter voltage line, then these are the conditions. First condition is the time period, the time difference between two consecutive square pulses must be T by 6. T is variable here because time period can be varied according to our requirement. So T by 6 is the minimum time duration between the two consecutive square pulses. And T by 2 is the conduction time period. Here T by 2 means the leftover time. Here the leftover time, because T by 6 is the time gap between two consecutive square pulses. Here we will having two square pulses, that means 60 plus 60 we will have 120 degrees of time gap. Out of 360, 120 degrees is gone, then we will left over with the 240 degrees only. Now this 240 degrees shared by two square pulses, that means 240 by 2 we will get 120 degrees each. So each square pulse will be 120 degrees of conduction duration. This is how the stepped waveform will be attained with the help of stepped wave inverter operation. So from this waveform, using Fourier analysis, we can write the Fourier, this is the line to line, VAB line to line Fourier equation. So in the previous class, we have seen this equation. If we expand this equation for n different n values, the n is 1, 3, 5, 7, 11 up to infinite. So the odd numbers only. So if we expand this series, then the line to line voltage, which is VAB, will be like this, plus so on. You can write up to infinity. However, we can simplify this equation, because see here it's 3 by 6. 3 by 6 means we will get pi by 2. 3 pi by 6, which is pi by 2. And cos pi by 2, which is cos 90. Cos 90 is 0. That means this entire term will become 0. This entire term will become 0. And you can see here 4 by pi into Vd in the first term. Similarly, here also you can see 4 by pi into Vd in the fifth term. Here also 4 by pi into Vd in the seventh term. So in each and every term we will get 4 by pi into Vd. So we can take 4 by pi into Vd as a common term. And next cos pi by 6, this term right here as it is. And this third term has been eliminated. So we will have this term only. Here you can see cos 5 pi by 6. Cos 5 pi by 6 is minus root 3 by 2. So before we are having 1 by 5 here. So minus 1 by 5 into root 3 by 2 sine 5 omega t, because here it is sine omega t plus pi by 6. You simplify this term, and similarly for this term also simplify and write here. So after simplifying all these terms, we will get this equation where the 4 into Vd by pi, a common value, and first term, third term will be cancelled out. So we'll have fifth term, and ninth term will be cancelled out, and 11th, 13th, and 15th term will be cancelled out like that. Okay, so this equation again simplified. This equation is again simplified because in each and every term we have root 3 by 2. See here root 3 by 2, here root 3 by 2. Here also cos pi by 6. Cos pi by 6 is cos 30 degrees. Cos 30 degrees is also root 3 by 2. Means this is also root 3 by 2 value. Here we will have root 3 by 2. Here also we have root 3 by 2. So in each and every time we got root 3 by 2. Again take root 3 by 2 as common. And these 2 and this 4 will be cancelled out. And the final expression of line to line voltage, using that Fourier analysis, we will get VAB. This is, remember, this is for only AB phases. So the line to line voltage of AB values. So VAB is equal to 2 root 3 by pi into VD into sine omega t minus 1 by 5 sine 5 omega t minus 1 by 7 sine 7 omega t plus 1 by 11 sine 11 omega t plus 1 by 13 sine 13 omega t plus so on. And this equation 6.6 gives the line to line voltage of stepped wave inverter. Okay, and this is line to line voltage. If we want to write the line to phase voltage, suppose line to phase voltage VAN, A is a phase, N means a neutral, VBN, VCN, like that. So from this line to line voltage, line to phase voltage can be written like this. The phase voltage will be the line to line voltage by root 3 times. So line to line voltage, which is VAB, is from this equation. From this equation is divided with by root 3 so that we can get phase voltage, which is VAN. So from this phase voltage, you can simply root 3 will be cancelled, and this is equation 6.7. This is equation 6.7. This equation 6.7 gives the phase voltage. So we have obtained the line to line voltage, and similarly we have obtained the phase voltage. Okay, where this 2 into Vd by pi is the maximum value, because Vm into sine omega t, right? So this entire term represents a sine of means waveform function, and this starting term represents the maximum value, which is Vm. Okay, now this is a phase voltage. but we need to get the RMS value. So we know the RMS value can be written as maximum value by root 2. Vm by root 2 gives the RMS value of this particular phase voltage. So VAN RMS value can be written as VAN by root 2, means the maximum value by root 2. For this equation 6.7, the maximum value is 2 into Vd by pi, right? So the 2 into Vd by pi by root 2. Now you can cancel out this root 2 in this 2. Here we will get root 2 again. So the final RMS value will be root 2 by pi into Vd. What is this Vd? This Vd is the DC voltage which is given as input to the voltage source inverter. So from this equation, root 2 is constant, pi is constant. That means the RMS value, output RMS value must depends upon the input DC voltage, which means VAN. VAN means phase voltage. The phase voltage is directly proportional to the DC voltage that we are going to apply for inverter. So this voltage, this RMS voltage can be controlled by simply controlling or by simply varying the DC voltage here. See, once check the circuit diagram, you can see this is the DC voltage that we are going to give as input for this voltage source inverter. Now we obtain the equation 6.8, which is the relation between the input DC voltage to the output RMS value. So this is the output RMS value that we are giving to the stator terminal of the induction motor, right? And we have obtained the relation between output RMS voltage to the input value. So from equation 6.8, the variable RMS value can be given to the stator of the induction motor by simply varying this DC input voltage, because this value is directly proportional to the DC input voltage, which is VDC, or we can say VD. Okay, this is how we can control the stator voltage of the induction motor. Remember, this is a frequency control, so we should control the frequency. So the frequency can be controlled by the time period of the stepped waveform, because here we are using stepped wave inverter. So the total time period of this particular waveform can be varied, right? So if we can vary this time period, then automatically frequency will also be varied, because frequency is 1 by T. We know this relation, frequency is 1 by T. If we vary this time period, we can change the frequency. And now we have just obtained the relation between VD and VAN, which means output RMS voltage to the input value. So inverter, voltage source inverter has the beauty of controlling both voltage and frequency, right? As we know that. So the voltage can be controlled, the output voltage can be controlled by the variable DC voltage or simply the input DC voltage. And the frequency can be controlled with the help of time period of the particular stepped wave form. Okay, using the time period, we can control the frequency. Using the input DC voltage, we can control the output voltage. So this is how we can get variable frequency as well as variable voltage using voltage source inverter. Okay, so here we will see two different cases. For each case, a circuit diagram. See, this is our voltage source inverter fed induction motor, right? So here we are having a DC voltage, and this DC voltage is fed by a DC link capacitor here, which is also acting as a filter for eliminating harmonics. And you can see here a chopper is connected in front for the DC supply. This is case 1. When a supply is a fixed DC value, we are having a DC source, but it is a fixed DC value. But we need to vary the VD so that we can get variable output voltage, right? If we want to vary this DC voltage, then we must use a chopper circuit, because our chopper circuit will regulate the DC voltage. So if we are having a fixed DC voltage, then a variable DC voltage can be obtained by connecting a chopper circuit between the DC supply and our inverter. So this chopper circuit will provide the variable voltage so that our output voltage, which is given to the induction motor, will be controlled. So this is the first case, whereas chopper is used to get the regulated DC output voltage or the variable DC output. So this DC output will be controlled with the help of chopper. Now this is variable DC voltage, so we'll get the variable stator voltage which is applied to the induction motor. And the second case, or the other condition, is if we are having a three-phase AC supply. We are having three-phase AC supply. Now we will use a rectifier circuit. This rectifier circuit is used for regulating the DC output voltage which is produced here, or which is simply applied to the voltage source inverter. Okay, so if our supply is a three-phase AC, simply use a rectifier circuit and regulate the DC output voltage here, and with the help of variable DC output voltage we can apply variable voltage to the induction motor. If we are having a fixed DC input voltage, then simply use a chopper circuit. So this chopper circuit will control the fixed DC voltage and provides variable DC here. With the help of variable DC, we can vary the input voltage that is given to the induction motor. Okay. However, this stepped waveform inverter having a few drawbacks. The main drawbacks are low order frequency harmonics. So that because of these low order frequency harmonics, the induction motor will have few drawbacks. Let's see them. Because of the low order or low frequency harmonics, the motor losses are increased for all the speeds, for different speeds, because of the low order harmonics that will affect the motor operation, or it will affect the motor performance, and that is one of the drawback. And second drawback is motor develops pulsating torques due to these low order harmonics. See, you can see here in this equation, sine omega t shows the fundamental waveform, but sine 5 omega t shows the fifth harmonic, 7 omega t shows the seventh harmonic, 11 omega t and 13th omega t shows the 11th and 13th harmonics. These are the low order harmonics. Due to these low order harmonics, the pulsating torques will be developed. So particularly at the low speeds, at the low speed operating condition, the motor will shows the jerky performance, jerky motion nature. Okay, that is also another drawback when we are operating the induction motor at the low speeds. Next, the harmonic content in the motor current increases at the low speeds because of this low order harmonics, which means the motor has a chance to operate under saturation condition for the light loads. That is because of high V by F ratio. So if the motor operates under saturation, we know various disadvantages will be happening. So that also limits the motor speed and with at least of 40% of the base speed. Below 40% of the base speed, we cannot achieve good performance for the induction motor operation. So all these are the different disadvantages when we use a stepped wave inverter. Because the stepped wave inverter itself, it contains, see, 5th order harmonic, 7th order harmonic, 11th and 13th. All these lower order harmonics are very much creates a problem in the induction motor operation. So stepped square wave or stepped square wave inverter operation is not that much acceptable for various applications. So in order to eliminate all these drawbacks, PWM inverter operation is preferred over the stepped wave operation. And we will see the PWM inverter operation of induction motor drive with voltage source inverter in the afternoon class. Okay, thank you.